before the hospital bracelet is put on our wrist, before we're cleaned off, before the cord is cut, before we are weighed and wrapped up in a blanket, a little hat put on our head and given to our parents, the very first thing we receive is our name. Before it goes on the hospital record, our parents know our name. And nowadays, with the ability to determine gender, very often we have our name before we are born. What is your name? It's usually the first piece of information that we give to a person when we meet them, or the first thing that we are asked by someone when we meet them. What is your name? Names are important. Names are part of who we are. The names that our parents give us go on top of our papers when we're in school. They go on our SATs, our college applications, our job applications. They stand printed in bold letters on our office doors or on nameplates on our desk, on diplomas that hang on our walls, driver's licenses, marriage certificates, and credit cards. Names matter. Names are part of us. When we hear our name, it grabs our attention. It wakes us up. When you were a kid, when did you know your mom and dad really wanted you to pay attention? When they said your full name. David Michael Grayson, you get over here right now. Then I knew my mom meant business. Or I was probably in trouble. And I do it now as a parent. And you know what? It works. It works. When you throw that middle name in there, it gets their attention. It works because our names are connected to who we are. They mean something. What is your name? In the gospel today, we have 3 places in which names are given. Names that need to be translated. Andrew comes to Jesus after leaving John the Baptist and says, Rabbi, which translated means teacher, where are you staying? Andrew then goes to his brother Simon and says, we have found the Messiah, which is translated anointed. Jesus then says to Simon, you are Simon, son of John. You are to be called Cephas, which is translated Peter. In 3 places, names are given. 2 to Jesus and 1 to Simon. And yes, they are names. Jesus was the name given by the angel to Mary, which was his Jewish name, given to him officially at his bris. Yeshua. It was his identity. But his purpose in life, for his purpose, he was named something else. He was named Messiah, anointed. His name was Rabboni, rabbi, which means teacher. This is what he was put on the earth for. It was his meaning and his mission in the world. Simon was his name. It was the name his parents gave him. It was how people knew him in Capernaum. It was how his wife knew him. Simon, please, for the 100th time, wash your hands. You smell like fish. Simon, please tell the kids to come in. It's time for dinner. Simon, my mother isn't feeling well today. But Jesus gave him a new name. Cephas. Cephas is an Aramaic word. The Greek word, which is the language of the Gospels, is Peter. And Peter means rock. That was Simon's purpose. That was his calling from God, to be rock. To be a rock of faith for the disciples. To be a rock for the early church. That was who God created him to be. You see, when our parents give us a name, it's about our identity. When God gives us a name, It's our purpose. And it's our mission. Remember what Isaiah said in the first reading. It was 2 quick lines and easily missed. The Lord called me before I was born. When I was in my mother's womb, he named me. I'm going to say that again. When I was in my mother's womb, he named me. What is your name? You have a name. Joe, Debbie, Vinny. You have a name. All of you have a name. But you have another name. A different name. You have a name that was given to you before you were born. Even before you were conceived. In the unreachable, unknowable, infinite mind of God, you were known. And you were chosen to do something. Long before a single sacred cell divided and divided again and again on the Spirit-guided path to become you, you were already named. Healer, teacher, peacemaker, mother, father, advocate. Agnes Bojashu was her name. She was a teacher and a nun. But God named her something different. He named her voice, hope, compassion. Her other given name was Mother Teresa. Stephen McDonald was his given name. Police officer was his job. But he was given a mission by God. Now, mind you, God did not cause what happened. But he named Stephen. Symbol. Teacher. Annabelle Bean was what her parents named her. She is a student, a middle school student. Before she was born, God named her. Witness. Chosen. Healed. You may know her from her story. It was a movie and a book called Miracles from Heaven. And if you don't know, watch it or read it. I don't know your name. You may not know your name. You may have several names. But don't presume that you know your name unless you have asked. Part of this life in God is figuring out what our purpose is, what our mission from God is. And it's not our job. It's not what we volunteer to do. It's not what our talents and our gifts are. All of these things can help us live our purpose. But they are usually not our mission. So if you don't know your name, if you don't know your purpose, if you don't know your mission, then ask. And ask, and ask again until you find out. And once you find out, you have to live into that name every day, to choose to live who you are called to be. You have a name. Every one of you sitting here listening to my voice has a name that was given to you by God. Now, sometimes we find out early in life what that name is. Other times you don't find out until much, much later. And you know what? It doesn't matter. As long as we find out, as long as we discover who God has made us. And that's all we have to do. Live the name that God has given to us. And let God do the rest. See, the problem is we get so caught up and so wound up and so stressed out about all the little details in life. The things that worry us, the things that preoccupy our minds, the little quibbles we have with one another, the large problems in our life that we forget to live for why we're here. We forget our purpose. We put our purpose to the side and worry about these little things that in the end we don't really have control over anyway. And so we're told by God, let that stuff rest. Worry about your purpose, my mission for you, and let me take care of all of that. That's not me telling you that. That's Jesus telling you that in Matthew's Gospel. Seek first the kingdom of God and His will, and everything else will be given to you. You can't control that stuff. Worrying doesn't make it go away. It's still going to be there. Waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and thinking, how am I going to fix this, usually doesn't work. What does work is giving it to God. What does work is being faithful to who you are called to be and trusting that God will take care of all that other stuff. And when the time comes to deal with it, God will give you the answer. You see, God is leading you. God is in front of you and behind you on the side, taking your hand to lead you where you're supposed to be. And when you find out your name, who God made you to be, and you follow that, everything else that you worry about and fear, everything that keeps you up at night, every black hole you seem to be sinking into, money problems, family issues, job troubles, health scares, God will give you what you need. Focus on who God has made you first. His mission for you. Let Him deal with the rest of it. The Lord called me before I was born. In my mother's womb, He named me. You have a name. Every single one of you. One that was given to you long before you ever saw the light of this world. You are invited to follow and to see what that name is. Come and see, Jesus says to the two disciples. Come and see. It's their invitation. And He asks the very same thing of you. Come and see who I have made you to be. Amen. Before the hospital brings